Okay. Um, let's call the meeting to order and roll call. We're calling the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Alicia, James,
Present.
Lee, Matt,
Here.
and Tyler. All right, let's stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. All right. Statement of the purpose of this meeting is a meeting of the board and public for the purpose of conducting the school district business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is time for public participation during the meeting as indicated on the agenda. Notice of this public meeting was given as required by Wisconsin State Statute 19.84, 1 through 4, by being posted at the Community First Bank, the Rosholt Public School Library, the Rosholt Post Office, Rosholt District Office, the Rosholt School website, and with WDUX, WSBT, and WSAW. Okay, consider of agenda additions and revisions. Is there anything that needs to be added or nothing? Okay, well then I would have a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
James, okay, is there a second?
A second.
Matt, okay, all those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion was carried. Public comment, do we have anybody? No. Nobody, okay, well, we're gonna keep moving along. Okay, consent agenda, contracts, new staff, extracurricular, and etc.
So this is something new to the board, and I don't know how you feel about this. It's been used in other places that I've been. And basically, it's always going to be these 5 things. So contracts that are being issued, resignations or retirements, board approved field trips or overnight trips or any trips that need approval for whatever reason, any gifts or donations that exceed the limit, and the meeting minutes from the previous meeting or special meetings or whatever meetings have taken place since the last regular meeting. Really, the purpose behind the consent agenda is that instead of having each individual motion and taking the time to do so, many of these things, unless there is a question, and there still could be a question to say, oh, we were not sure that we want to approve that position or that person for that position, you can always make the motion, I approve the consent agenda, except item A2. And then we take item A2, we drop it down after closed, and then we could vote on it at that time. So we can always adjust the agenda, and that's normally when we'd have, when you just ask for if there was any agenda revisions or additions or changes, then that's when we would make that. Say, you know, I'm gonna request that we move item 7A2 to after closed session because I have questions with that specific hire. Or, you know, item 7C, there's a field trip that I just need to know more about. I don't want that in consent agenda. Normally consent agenda, we would come in and if there were any questions, we would ask that beforehand and then we would just approve all of these at the same time. And we're basically saying as a board, we consent to those hires, we consent to those resignations and retirements, and we are just doing it all as a lump sum to try to save a little time instead of going through each one and having a motion discussion and going through that process. Again, it never changes. It's those same 5 things moving forward. So it's always going to be, you know, contracts that are being issued, resignations, field trips, gifts, and meeting minutes. But it's new to us. So I just want to explain that. And then, I mean, I guess my druthers would be to try it for a while to see if there's any goofiness that exists with the consent agenda. And then if there is, then we can have conversation after we have it for a few months, see if it seems to work. If it does, great. If all of a sudden we're like, wait a second, I don't feel comfortable with that. I want to talk more about that. We can always go back.
Okay. Does anybody have any feelings one way or another about this, or do we want to try it for like 3 months and then revisit it again, or do we just want to go with it? What's anybody's feelings on this?
Okay with lumping it. I mean, it saves time and we can get the more, not, they're all important, but. Yeah.
Okay.
So like all these, we would approve them all as one. Here, like the,
It would be a motion to approve the consent agenda.
yeah.
A second, all those in favor. And that means all the contracts, the resignations, and the meeting minutes have been approved at that
So
time.
the only one thing I would say about the Corey Phillip and John Pingle is on both of them, you had John Pingle.
I know, I
You
just,
approved that? You changed that?
I did now.
Just so the right person gets.
Yes. So, I had the same hiring form. John was listed under the middle school softball coach and as the middle school girls basketball coach. I realized that yesterday as I was going through preparing, or I'm sorry, this morning preparing for tonight. And so I've updated them at this time. I apologize
Well,
for that.
he got the right.
And when you saw that, you just said, text me and said, Dennis, what's
Well,
up with this?
I went out to eat with John on Saturday night, so I'm like, good.
Yeah, so they do now read the same. I mean, the salaries, because it's both middle school, the salaries are both the same, so they're interchangeable. It's just the name change.
Okay.
On the recommendation form. And so again, we have a couple retirements and a resignation. So though we thank those people. We do have party gifts for retirees that we're working on. So
And then Joe wanted an exit interview, right?
say again.
Joe Ominick wanted an exit interview.
Correct, and we'll discuss that later
Okay.
to see what the board is wanting to do.
Okay, well, do I have a motion to start using the consent agenda as effective in January, I guess, or not
You would need
today?
to do that.
Okay.
I would just say, unless anybody has objections, we would
Okay.
go forward and then try it for a couple months, and if we don't like it, then we say, hey, let's not do that anymore.
Okay, so we don't even need a motion?
No, we just need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion.
James, okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Lee? All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Just want to let everyone know that Mr. Miller is now here and present. So, just so that's on the
Thanks for
record.
joining us.
Well, you weren't here when we took attendance, so I felt.
Well, they had not a good phone call before it came.
Okay. We figured you had a reason, but I just want people to know that you are present now. Okay, approval of bills and financial statements. Anybody have any questions about any of when you look this over during your free time, or do you want?
I
to-
do, actually.
Okay, go ahead, James.
So, I guess just for starters, I mean, you don't have to look them up because I can tell you what they're for. There's check 72027 for Bushman Electric for $1,767.17, and then another one for it's the same check number for extra $633.72. And I noticed last month they had another bill for like 6,000. So, like, my question is, normally in most places of business that I work at, anything over $5,000 is put out for bids. And I don't know if that's the same here or not at the school. We have.
That is our cutoff.
It is our cutoff. Okay. So I was just wondering if that was put out, like, I saw Bushman was here last month, they did like 6,000. Was that put out for bids to other local contractors?
Well, the caveat is if it's for a single project.
Yeah.
My understanding is with Bushman, it's ongoing different projects.
Mhm.
So I don't have clarification on the expenditures. Now, is there, Tom, run out there and
Yeah, okay,
take a look at it?
sure.
Just because you're, obviously you're back.
Yeah, and I just noticed they're doing a lot of work, and we have a lot of local contractors in this area who pay taxes to the school. It'd be nice to kind of get them on the bidding process here too, you know.
So it's just, I mean, we've used locals before and they were way cheaper than Bushman, so that is a question of mine too, so.
I mean, I can name like 4 contractors who send their kids to this school. Would be more than happy to get bids.
Okay.
Yes, let me know when
Sure. Okay,
and we can arrange that.
all right.
Okay, is that all, James, that you had?
Yeah, I just had one more. It was check
Okay.
71967,
Uh-huh.
and it was for a used floor scrubber.
Yeah, I have that one.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
Used floor
Question.
scrubber.
question about it too, you know,
I
like
mean, is it for repair the scrubber, or we buy a used
replacement
scrubber?
pieces or
I guess,
What's the number again?
the check number was 71967. I got the invoice in.
And how much?
For $3,752.48.
Right, coming off to the side.
I don't think that's repair. I think that's purchase of a used one. Yeah, I don't know if Rachel, you have the actual invoice on what that was. I don't have, and of course, Tom asked if he should be here tonight. I said, I don't think so.
Oh, so now,
And now I'm like, yes, he should be here, because I'm not sure.
I guess we can clarify that later. I just curious if we bought something or.
What that tells me is we're buying a used one. I know that he was investigating, and I don't know if our old one burned up, because he was talking how it was misperforming or it was not working optimally. And rather than buying a new one, buying a used one.
A used one costs 3,000. I don't know what floor scrubbers go for these days.
Evidently.
I guess we can look into that if we don't know later.
then I had one, Department of Health Services, BURS. What the heck? Having babies born at school?
Was it?
It's that one, I put a line beside it.
Birth? Oh, birth.
BURS.
Birth.
Births.
Oh,
So
that
just
is,
make sure that we're gonna-
I think, so,
Oh, yes.
when
The
you're doing
new-
the,
New baby records every, 3 times a year. I'm gonna get records of new babies born in the district so that we can start sending them materials and.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
When I saw that, I like,
Well, that's a good idea.
Yes.
Get kids interested.
so what we used to do for a census is we used to hire somebody to go around and call all the different houses when they didn't get a hold of them. They would go and knock door to door. That became increasingly, difficult from mobility issues and from, going and knocking at people's door. That actually wasn't creating friends with the district
I
anymore.
would get.
So, how many kids you got in here? That's,
And it's all
Yeah.
part of, it's up, available to us otherwise,
Yeah.
so.
and so, as we started last year, Trisha's now getting those birth records and we're keeping track of them so we can kind of have a better idea. She's also looking at, home sales within the area. So when a home sells, to take a look at the new family that moved in and then sending out a request saying, okay, do you have children? And if they go here, great. If they don't go here, well, that's fine too. We just are trying to understand what we have for students within the district.
Gotcha.
So that is what that is for.
Can I ask a question about that? So is it not babies that were actually born in Portage County? Is it babies that live in Portage County? Because if we're doing born, we're not getting anywhere near accurate. Nowhere near accurate.
That's true.
Because we have a large number that deliver in Wausau and that deliver in Rapids. And that's going to get increasingly,
I believe it goes by the address of the mother.
okay,
Okay.
good.
well, you can see the map up there of the school district, it goes up into
Well,
Thacker County, Marathon County.
Well, and we
And you
are
have to
communicating with all
request it
3
from-
counties, correct?
Correct, and in the district, yes.
But you have to request it from Madison. It doesn't
Yes.
come from Portage County, it comes
Correct.
from Madison.
Okay.
It was something we discussed because where I had Ethan, when I lived in Elkhorn, right after I had Ethan, I got a congratulations on your new birth, your new addition. Come to the school district for your free gift. And then when he turned 1, I got a congratulations or happy birthday. Come to your school district for your free gift. And curiosity, right, killed the cat. It was a coupon. I had to fill out all the information. I went to the school district. They gave me a board book, right? It wasn't any great gift, but that was exactly what they needed to count for census. And if we can grab families before they open enroll someplace else, if we establish that, and so thankfully Trisha was like, I can do that. We're just trying to capture every kid and keep them here if we establish a good relationship with them.
Good idea. Good idea.
Good.
Okay, any other questions on the bills with financial statements? Anybody else have any other concerns?
I do.
You do, go ahead.
Check number 72053, Rush Media for $112.50 for a live stream for a volleyball match.
Oh,
Is that, we pay for a live stream now?
For the volleyball, for the regionals,
That was the regional one.
because the regional WIA charges us if we show it on our, even though we have the huddle camera and even though we have that, if we live stream any regional, we have to pay for that.
Well,
And that was in part because of the distance that the opposing team traveled. And if you remember right, that was a time change and everything. Trying to have that team come here for those people that couldn't attend from such a far distance, show it, and then also trying to get them out of here so they can get home at a reasonable hour. There's a lot of scrutiny around that, but again, when we talk about all kids, including opposing teams' kids or whatever, that was our decision to do that.
and then check number 72026. Is that what we pay quarterly or monthly to the Boys and Girls Club?
Well, that's for our grant.
$9,000?
We wrote a grant.
Okay.
So that's all, we are the fiscal agent for that out of school time during the school year, and then we have a different grant for the summer. And we are helping offset the cost of the employees through that grant. So yes, that is monthly. We get a monthly bill.
Wow.
I think it was quarterly.
I think it's
So
got, I hope it's quarterly because monthly, that's,
That's a lot of money.
But it's not actually,
It's not our money.
it's not our money.
Money
It's a
flows from
it's
grant
from the grant.
to us. We pay for their
Yep.
people. And I should also say that they wrote the grant on our behalf in partnership with us. So
Middleman.
and then check number 72038 to Heartland Business for Wi-Fi dead areas for $3,000. Where can there be Wi-Fi dead area for $3,000 that we haven't had covered Wi-Fi? Is my question.
So
Auditorium.
That was a Wi-Fi dead area?
Yeah, so auditorium.
And gymnasium.
The gymnasium, the cafeteria, the old boardroom.
But why are we doing something like the old boardroom? We'll never use it for Wi-Fi
We do, we have classes up there.
in the boardroom?
Mhm.
the specific area that Dan and I talked about, and I don't know if he's listening, if he wants to come in and chat.
It's right there.
He's right there.
Oh, there it is.
Those are like,
Yeah,
well, I just to make sure it's working.
He's
So like, the old guidance office, the front office there, we didn't have an access point in there. There's gonna be one put in there. There's gonna be one put, in room 48 that's in between two classrooms. I thought our access points were gonna give us enough power through the walls, but with the new Wi-Fi, it doesn't penetrate the walls as good, so I physically have to put one in there. So, and then the other one is the old board, because they have classes up in there, so that's the access points.
And Dan and I have talked about increasing the coverage in the gymnasium, because the gymnasium by the annex, there's like a quarter of the gym is not connected. And we ran into the issue when the basketball team tried to stream their own camera and videotape. They could not get Wi-Fi service, so now so you know they're sitting over by the FIAD office nearest the hallway and trying to get an angle, and they really wanted to be more center court. There was zero coverage over by the annex. So that would be,
The gyms were never covered because it was bare minimum education only. Now it's becoming more for streaming, stuff like that, but stuff like that.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, anyone else have any other questions and concerns? Did you cover yours?
Yep.
Okay. Any other different ones?
Good.
Okay, well then I need a motion to approve the bills with financial statements.
I'll move to pay the bills.
The second,
A second.
all those in favor of approving the bills with financial statements, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, motion was carried. Communication, district administrator report.
real quickly, just a reminder to the board that in January, we set the open enrollments for special education and for regular education if there would be any necessity to do so. Just talked last week with the special education, um, Marathon County Special Education, and it looks like we're going to be in the same boat that we were last year as far as caseloads and that type of thing, because we'll have zero availability for special ed. The caveat to that is still at our high school. We used to have 2 instructors to work on some team teaching. Right now we have 1. Because of that, that caseload is maxed. If we would ever find that second teacher, again, to go back to our desire to co-teach and that co-teaching model, then we might have some availability at the 9-12. But right now, just a preview, we're probably going to be recommending a 0 cap on special ed enrollment. Just a reminder, snow and weather cancellations. Ironically, when I was at my special ed meeting last week, they reminded us that the year previous, so last December, we did not have our meeting because it was snow and ice and it was a cancellation day. And I'm like, oh, well, it doesn't look like we're canceled outside today. And just a different winter, right? Every year is a little bit different. Usually that means that in April and May, we'll see some lingering effects. Hopefully not, but we'll see.
March.
Um, just so the board is aware, and I think I mentioned this before, we're going through the strategic planning process and developing a district scorecard. As part of that district scorecard, I thank you, Rachel, very much publicly. So thank you so much, because I had some examples and I said, is there a way that we can take our information from the community conversations and make it kind of look like this in the 1-page general synopsis of what we're trying to do? And she was able to take our information and create this 1-page flyer, per se, if you will. And basically it has a district mission. It has our 4 pillars that came out of the community conversation. And then it just talks a little bit about the community conversation at the bottom. And so this is something that now, while we continue to develop the rest of the strategic plan, which we do have multiple teams assigned, and we're starting to meet with those teams to develop what does a quality workforce look like? What does community connections look like? This is still something that I can take to my library meeting, or should I say Norma's library meeting, that some people may have attended in the past. I know Carla's been there. I can take to my town hall meetings and I can share with them and say, this is what came out of that. This is what our pillars and what is most important to our community. So again, I think it turned out awesome. I was looking at Monona Grove and Lodi, and Rachel was able to take a look at those 2 and kind of develop ours. So again, thank you so much. That's an update on there. Also, Enchanted Forest, and Tricia, feel free to add if I miss anything, but this seems to be going wonderfully this year. So we don't know if it's finally people know that it's back and it's post-COVID and everything else. I was lucky enough to be up there during the live nativity and for Santa Claus, so that went over very well. We had asked people to sign in the notebook. I think we had like 5 pages of signatures, and then that wasn't a 1-for-1. It was like, okay, Dennis Kaiser signs in. I have 4 people with me. We're from Mosinee, and then the next person, okay, we're gonna sign in. There's 2 people with us. So it's just name, party, and where they're coming from. Since then, I know that Melanie came in today and had more donations for the weekend and commented that it was just amazingly busy. There was also a
couple of a family called and said that they wanted to use the Enchanted Forest area to do a proposal, a wedding proposal.
surprise
And then
engagement.
another family called and they wanted to do their baby, pregnant pictures in the area. So both of those families came this weekend. So it was very busy. And then all the people that came to witness the proposal, all of those family members donated to the Enchanted Forest because they were so pleased with how
Just
it looked and.
the word's getting out there, which is
Yeah,
amazing.
right.
It's awesome. So far, it's been a very good year for that. A couple days to visit yet, 22nd, 23rd for 5 to 8, and 26th, 27th for 3 to 6. So if you haven't been up there, you might want to try to get up there because it is truly amazing.
And a public thank you to you for being a good host up there. That was very nice. And thank you to Santa Claus, wherever he may be. So, so yeah, it was great.
It was a very good night. It was fun. So, and that's all I have. So I will turn it over to Mary for the elementary school report.
Okay,
Just a photography contract update. We met with, Interstate again. They have been our photographer for a couple of years now. We locked in the dates for next year, September 11th and 12th, the Wednesday and Thursday, with retakes of October 17th. We're continuing with we're one school rather than 3 individual schools, which makes the scheduling, and if a kid from high school drops in, they don't have to change their computer system to go to high school to turn around and switch it back to elementary. So it's really made it pretty seamless for them to quickly take pictures of every child that we have, every staff member we have. So photography contract update. And then up later under new business is to consider summer school. I would be asking that you approve the hiring of 4 teachers at 4 hours a day, which is what we've done in the past. 1 assistant for 4K, 5K classroom. And then I anticipate, based on the students I know that have come to school for summer school in the past, that we would probably need 2 additional assistants for special education for children who have assistants during the school year. So I would be asking that is also pre-approved so that I can start engaging conversations with people. And then Tammy has been providing targeted reading intervention during through the out of school time summer grant. She provided it last year. I haven't yet engaged with her if she intends to provide it this year. The answer is yes. She can't say no. But that is within the summer school grant. So that is not an additional cost to the district. That was something we wrote in for the grant time. The plan would be to continue with the way we've been doing it, grouping 4K, 5K together, 1, 2 together, 3, 4 together, 5, 6 together. We've tried 7 and 8 in the past, and we've never had enough students to actually run a 7, 8. So then we end up having 7 and 8 in with 5th and 6th graders. So last year we did not offer to 7th and 8th. And in the past couple of years, we've capped at 22 kids per grouping. You have already approved the June 3-week time frame. You have not yet approved the July 3-week time frame. So in that new business consideration, I would also ask that you approve the July 3-week time frame so that I can roll it out to people all in one fell swoop.
Are you gonna have enough kids for that second session?
We have in the past.
Okay.
To kind of break even money wise with the reimbursement we get from the state in FTE, you need to have about 14 kids per group or per teacher, really. And in the past, we've had about 80 to 90 in session 1 and 60 to 70 in session 2. Now, of course, every kid doesn't show up every single day. But 14 times 4 would only be 56, according to my mathematician next to me. So if we have 60 to 70, we would still be breaking even on the minutes that we get reimbursed for the state or from the state.
Have we always done it for 3 weeks?
We have not. So first summer I was here, we did 3-week sessions. That was hard to staff, as well as hard to get students to commit for that period of time. Then we had COVID and we went down to a 3-week session and a 2-week session for a total of 5 weeks because we shoved it later because we were just still COVID-y. Then the next year we did a 3-week, a 3-week, and a 2-week. And again, we found that 2-week in August made it hard for Tom's crew to get the building clean, as well as it just attendance dwindles. So we've run 3 weeks now. This would be summer 3. But it's, I mean, that's up for discussion, debate. There are school districts, I have asked the CWC, there are school districts in the CWC that do not offer summer school at all. There are school districts that say we only offer June and July and August are off the table. There are school districts that do exactly 24 days and no more. Ours would be 6 weeks at 4, so that would be 24. So,
I just wonder, like, time wise, if it pays to go 3 weeks or if it's like a 2 week, where people, if you do 2 weeks in June, 2 weeks in July, where you have that extra time period where it's where families can get away and still have the time off.
That's the double check, but I think with that minimal number of days, then we want the reimbursement. It needs a certain amount of minutes. I don't know that we would get reimbursed or break even. So to speak.
that might change the 14 per.
Yeah.
14 per is based on this, but
Sure. I'm just wondering, that's.
The one nice thing about having a 3 and 3 is that second session is done in July. So that means we have August to get the building clean. Last year was the first year that we asked teachers to come in for a work day in lieu of the in-service, because the in-service time is, there's at least one work day built in. And what we found is that allowed for some of those IT requests and those custodial requests to take place during those 3 weeks. So it was not as, there was still a time crunch when we had our regular in-service, but there was less of a time crunch for some of those other departments to get things ready to go. I'm not at all insinuating that we were 100% ready to go, because there were still some IT things and still some custodial things that we needed to wrap up after the school year started. But as far as the crunch to get those things accomplished, having that little bit of break there in August was good.
Then the last day of school is gonna be what day?
last day of regular school
Yeah.
is May 31st.
Okay. Cause I know 1 year you ran summer school right after the school and the kids
Right.
didn't do anything, or it's
We're
summer
done.
break and we're still here.
We're done May 31st,
That
then
didn't work.
we take that first week of June off and we run 3 weeks. Then
Okay.
we take the first week of July off, which is the July 4th week, and we run 3 weeks. And then 3 weeks would actually end on July 25th, so there would be 3 days of July with 2 days of August, and then all of August. But, hey, you can make it shorter.
No, I was just, I had heard a lot of complaints about the going right after school.
Yep. And
Friday, and then the kids are back here on Monday for summer school.
Yep, and that I
That
feel
was,
like
that
that
was my only concern.
last summer and the summer before, I think we solved that, but
Okay.
Anything else, Mary?
no,
No?
to
Okay.
hear from me again shortly.
Yes, I know. We love hearing from you. Mr.
At the secondary level, we've started the process of registering students for classes for next year. That process starts with teachers recommending any changes that they'd like to course titles or course descriptions or courses that they offer, or courses that students don't sign up for, they no longer are going to offer. You'll have it later as the actual item on page 20. Quickly, the family and consumer education courses. There was a class that was removed, child development. And then there was a few classes where they changed the title of their names. For example, Intro to Foods is now Culinary Arts 1. And after talking with Ms. Schenzel, it lines up more with neighboring schools, as well as a lot of grants or scholarships that kids apply for. So, there's Culinary Arts 1, then World of Foods is Culinary Arts 2, and then the Advanced Foods and Nutrition is Culinary Arts 3. So. And then there was a change to the Leading to the Future. That's now FCCLA and Wholesale Leadership. And again, that lines up more with the grants that are offered with FCCLA and Wholesale.
Looking at this registry with it. I wrote on here why dropped,
Right.
and I was tying this back into the bursts that we were having here in school. So I was concerned that we were having too many bursts
Yeah.
here at school.
They're not
We're gonna
related.
worry about the child development because it's already happening.
Yeah, those two are not related. We're just dropping it. We haven't had students sign up for it over the last,
That's,
couple of years.
that's the one when they had the little baby dolls and stuff. Is that it?
I'm not 100% sure.
No,
No,
but
that's a different one.
that's an 8th grade course,
Oh, okay,
teen living.
okay. All right.
That'll be an actual item later. That's it.
Okay, well, thank you. All right. Old business, consider public comment rules.
So the board has asked or commented multiple times about our public comment, because even though we have in the excerpt that we read, we ask anybody commenting to the board during public comment to speak of what agenda item they're speaking to. I would say a majority of the time, there is no agenda item because they're just coming in to complain about something, or they want the board to know about X, Y, Z. And so it many times it's not an agenda item. As I started to research what is allowable, what's not allowable in public comment, it's really up to the local board. The fact that a public comment should exist is out there, but in what form that looks like is up for discussion to the local board. So I did include WSB presentation, and this is just something that they presented at a conference. And so really focusing in on pages 9 through 20, and it just talks about the overview. And it says law provides a lot of flexibility for school boards in structuring this. It's almost always helpful to have and follow a formal board policy. At this point, we do not have an adopted formal board policy when it comes to public comment. There is one out in Neola, and I've attached that. We can look at that in just a little bit, because it might behoove us to spend a little time to develop that policy, and then have that for next board meeting to consider adopting. Basically, the presiding officer is there to consistently enforce the rules and exercise patience, because sometimes when people are explaining what they find as faults in the district, it's tough to listen to. The public comment, they warn, is not necessarily the only way, nor is it typically the best way to obtain board input on an important question or to have fact-specific issues or complaints brought to the district attention. And that's where we go back to the chain of command. If there's something that the board is hearing for the first time at a public comment, that's a concern. That's actually a problem, because that means that either the person went to a principal or a teacher and that's where they left it and then came right to the board and bypassed the principal or athletic director or superintendent and came right to the board. Or what should happen is they follow that chain of command, and then administration informs the board and says, hey, we anticipate this person coming to the board meeting because they did not like our answer, even though that's what our policy states or that's what our past practice has been. It does talk about public comment, and if there is going to be a public comment, it does need to be on the agenda. It does talk about, this presentation talks about when it's appropriate to have the public comment, and this specific slide talks to the scope. So we could have it say it's only to an agenda item. That's, I think, what we've tried to do, but then we have to be willing to say, oh, you're speaking about something that's not on the agenda. Please refrain. If there's no agenda item, we ask that you kindly sit down. Or if we say, hey, we're going to allow you to speak on whatever topic you want. However, we cannot vote on anything that's not on our agenda. We could let them do that, but then we would, the recommendation in this briefing is to say, then you have a staunch 2 or 3 minutes. And then that's all they get to vent or complain or talk about another topic. Because if we say that we have to have an agenda item, but then they talk about other things and we're okay with that and we let them, then why don't we just adopt a policy you can speak on anything, with, again, remembering defamation of character and making sure not to try to call out people. That's not really what it is. What is the factual instance that we're talking about in public comment? Again, scheduling the agenda, it asks some good questions. During which meetings will the board offer a public comment? Will comments be open to any topic or issue? Will the board limit the amount of meeting time total? So they said that if you have a very controversial subject, you can say, hey, we've got 30 minutes total that we're going to give to this, and we don't care if there's 1,000 people that want to speak. We're taking 30 minutes on the issue, and then we're moving on. So then obviously not everybody's going to get 2 minutes. When the public comment period will take place during the meeting, so is it going to be at the beginning, at the end? You want to put it in the middle? When is that located, or when should that be placed on the agenda? Pre-comment speaker registration, what is our process? So we've identified the process. We want people to sign in. Will the board place a limit on the amount of time each person gets? And will it be limited to a class? So is it only going to be open to Rosholt taxpayers? Is it only going to be open to people within the town limits, whatever the limitations might be? Or do we say, hey, you're from Stevens Point, we'll come in and, complain about our library books or complain about our volleyball team? Do we allow that? I don't know. That would be something to consider in the policy. We're going to allow for exceptions to be made outside of the normal procedures, and what eventual content neutral limitations will be placed on speakers, meaning repetitive appearances, the comments are obscene or threatening, when they constitute any type of harassment. I will say when I went to the listening sessions for legislators, I was a bit disappointed because you have multiple people and you could tell that it was scripted. And so here I wanted to speak on behalf of our school district. I got there an hour and a half before the thing started, and my time slot was 4:30 in the afternoon. And this started at 8 a.m. So I didn't know it was going to be that jam-packed. Obviously it was. But then you had a person stand up on the right side that talked about college tuition and how much of a concern that was. And then the person on the left would get to the mic, they were talking about the exact same topic, college tuition. Then you'd have somebody on the right-hand mic that would say, I'm from XY school district and we appreciate any funding to the public schools. And then the person on the left would talk to the college tuition again. And it's like, okay, I think they kind of understand the college tuition thing. When I was there, and I stayed until my time, and then I had to get back actually for a board meeting, so I couldn't stay until the very end. I would say there was no less than 50 to 60 people that commented about the college tuition thing. And I was disappointed by that process. So in that comment right there, if it's the same comment or the same topic, do we say you've had your turn? That's what they're getting to with that advice to consider. If the board's going to offer an opportunity for public comment, do we do via telecommunications? Hopefully we don't go back to virtual meetings. So I'm going to skip over this slide and the next one because it's specific to virtual meetings. The president's role or the person that's in charge of the meeting. Again, that person's responsibility is to identify the procedures and remind speakers that they're not immune from legal consequences related to their speech. A lot of people think I get in here, it's free speech. There's still defamation of character issues because it's a public meeting. So if you're going off about somebody and you name them or you allude to them, there could be other ramifications there. And again, consistently enforce the established limitations. More presidents or the person presiding over the meeting, the president may interject during a speaker's comments and attempt to redirect. The president may interrupt and potentially cut off the speaker, and the president may help to direct the nature of the board's response to the speaker's comment. It did talk in here about thanking them for their opinion. If there was something that was a viewpoint that was against board policy or against the board's view, the president could at a later date or later on in that meeting discuss or issue a public statement to say the board does not agree with and does not condone that viewpoint, and we stand against that viewpoint because that's not what our school district is made of, depending if it was derogatory and not good for our community. It does talk a little bit about First Amendment right, and this is kind of where we're going. A public period of comment is a type designated forum for speech that, generally speaking, has substantial degree for protections under the First Amendment. However, there are some exceptions. Any content-based exclusion of speech in designated forum must serve as compelling government interest, and reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions could potentially be in place. So they talked about a couple of approaches. There's another one, but it has less less bearing on what we do. And approach one, limiting public comment to notice agenda topics. That's what we've tried to do and limit the issues that can be brought to the board meeting as complaints. And then two, make sincere effort to redirect such complaints, but ultimately let the individual present his or her comments, perhaps with a follow-up disclaimer by the presiding officer. And so we've kind of been a mix of both of those. And I guess at this time, I'd like to just review the policy in brief, just to let you know that it's out here. There's a couple things that I personally, I would advise against. Right here, it says any person or group who would like to have an item put in the agenda would then deem whether or not that agenda item should be on the agenda. There's a bunch of different things that they would ask for name part. I don't necessarily disagree with, because if we've allowed them to speak on a non-agenda item, maybe we should do that, but then have a set amount of time. So I just asked the board to review this policy and provide input or comments on that policy prior to next board meeting. Because at the next board meeting, I'd like to have a more in-depth conversation about this policy and which direction the board wants to go as far as adopting a policy. So that way we have something on record that says this is how we conduct our board meetings when it comes to public comment. And if that means that there's a couple individuals that are really passionate about this, or if you want me to sit down with Carla throughout the course of the next month to review this and come up with our recommendation. Again, this is just their blanketed item and what they would recommend from Neola. Questions on public comment?
We'll discuss that further, right? I mean, well, everybody here has their input on that, and we can all talk about that later. I mean, we don't have to now.
Yeah, I think it should be something that we do and put in place, because that way we have a set procedure and a set thing that we follow, because it's been a discussion item in the past.
When do we want to discuss it?
Say again?
When do we want to discuss it now?
I would say if we've all reviewed that policy, then we could discuss it now. Otherwise, in the past, I've used a policy committee, which would be a couple of people. We haven't really instituted committees here, and I don't know if that has been a thing in the past. I don't know if there's interest in doing that. But similar to our facilities, right? There was two individuals that came to the Verigy presentation to just get a better understanding. If we had one or two individuals that would want to come to a policy meeting, and then we could kind of script what makes sense to us and then present that to the board as a recommendation, that could be. Those are examples of committees that I've used in the past. Otherwise, I would say, let's review this, get any, again, I don't know if Carla, you're willing to do that,
Yeah.
but if you have in the next 2 weeks, anything to comment about that, get it to Carla. And then when we come back from break, maybe that second week, the week before the board meeting, because board meeting next month is early, it's the 15th.
Yeah.
So maybe the week of what would it be, the 8th? The week of the 8th, we would get together and draft and come up with what we would recommend, and then we could discuss it next board meeting.
Yeah, so we can.
Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
And if there's somebody else that would like to join?
Yeah, more the merrier. Okay. All right. So if you have any comments, just let me know, or. shoot
I didn't mean to
text or
volunteer you,
whatever.
but if you're okay with doing that.
Yeah, I will. Well, since,
I didn't mean to volunteer you, but as
I
a
second
president,
it.
very good.
Matt, I'll
Done deal.
second.
Where's the
Thank
bell?
you, Matt. I'm glad I have a good friend in you. Okay. Phase 2, the auditorium update.
All right, so there was a question last time about the electrical and having a certified electrician come in and run wire, and how much that was going to be an additional cost. When I called Dean from Lifeline, he basically said he writes that into every proposal because he doesn't know exactly what's here. However, after being here reviewing our system, he said really the only, because everything else where we want to put it, there's power as far as where those DSPs and where those controls, those touch controls have to be. So he goes, really the only question would be, is there enough, and James, you might be able to help me here. He said basically the electrical wire for the screen is in like that metal flex tubing, and the wire goes into that. He goes, and usually there's some extra that is, into the end of the screen where the power goes up and down. He goes, the new screen that we're proposing, because it's an HD screen, is a bit wider. And he goes, so the only thing that might have to happen is either A, you have to extend that flex pipe to make sure that it goes in and it's covering all the wires, or if there's not enough extra wire inside the little tube on the top of the screen, he goes, you might have to have somebody in that extends that wire, which is minimal cost.
Yeah.
So he goes, everything else should be there. Now, when we take a look at the proposal for the auditorium, that is budgeted. And even if we did all of that, that is coming in under what we have budgeted this year for the auditorium. But the one thing I want to remind the board, we have some other things coming up later on. We're going to discuss playground, and Mary's going to talk about playground. Next month, as we all already know, we're going to open up some bids for rooftops. And so the dollar amounts for those things are quite large. When we speak in terms of fund balance, because the question to the board is really, do we want to dip into our fund balance to take care of some of these projects? Now, auditorium is budgeted for this year, that's fine. Rooftops are not. So the question is, do we dip in? Yes. Do we not dip in? And we wait on the rooftops and try to repair. To me, it makes sense to attempt to do in part, if not all, this year, because our ESSER money runs out. So some of the salaries that we are paying for with ESSER funds come back to us in year 24, 25. So that'll be a district expense. So right now they're being covered, and right now we have a small surplus budget. If we look at our fund balance at this point, at the beginning of the year, we're at 39.06%. In the superintendent world, they say if you're from 15 to 25%, you have a decent fund balance, depending on your size and how much money you spend and whatever else. Now, I would argue, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rachel, but in our conversations, I understand that our district should really be between 25 and 30%, because that amount of a fund balance will allow us to not have to short-term borrow for payroll. And basically what that means is twice a year, because the money that we receive from state aid and from taxes and the money we receive is not paid in a monthly, routine, even manner. It's paid in unequal 4 installments throughout the year. So when we get to December, we're running a little bit thin. And so many times Rachel has to transfer money from one account to our payroll account to make payroll. Taxes come in January, and then we move that money back. Districts that don't have a fund balance that they're able to do that, they go to the bank and they short-term borrow the money. And let's say that their payroll is $200,000 for the month. They'll borrow $200,000, and then in January the taxes come in, they pay that money back, but now they're paying $230,000 with the interest on that loan. That's just a defeating mechanism to try to make payroll. So it would behoove us greatly to not get into that situation with our money. So right now we're looking at 39% fund balance, healthy fund balance. If we would do all of the projects proposed, we would end up at a fund balance that would be about 35.61, which is still healthy. However, when we play that forward and look at next year and projecting next year with what we kind of know, we don't know everything, that would go down to 29%, well, 29.6, to 29.45. So right now we're at 39. If we do all of the projects as is, and we incur, and again, as we look forward, we're looking at worst case scenario, because that's the way we budget, because we want to budget in a worst case scenario, and that's commonplace, because we'd rather be prepared and pleasantly surprised than to budget and then be, oh my gosh, we're not going to make payment. Now we're going to have to borrow money. So that would go down to next year, 29%. Still healthy, but definitely not the 39% that we're at now. Does that mean that we do all the auditorium? It's budgeted for. We have the money ready to do that. Does that mean we do the entire proposal for the rooftops when we get them? Right now, based on figures from a few years ago, that's going to come in between $800,000 and $2.3 million. And you ask yourself, why such a variance? I don't know. That's why, if we need to see a presentation from the companies that look to be the best, maybe we invite them in for a presentation because there's a pretty big variance there. But again, that's 3-year-old data, so I have no idea what it is going to be this year. We've sent that out to bid. We've gotten some requests for information, and those bids are due in early January so that we can open them up and have a recommendation for the board on the 15th.
Now,
So,
are everybody getting the same bid information?
correct.
Because
So,
we run into that problem where they get this and this and this and that.
so we have a,
You don't have,
we have an RFP that's out there. We put it on the state website. And so Tom's gotten 3 or 4 calls, end of last week and this week already. Today I had 2 different ones, both from out of state saying, hey, we'd like to bid on your project. I did speak with one of the individuals, at a little bit of length, and they're like, I'm wondering if you can, explain a little bit more. And as I explained our district and the different rooftop surfaces that we have, they're like, oh, thank you very much. We appreciate it. We'll let you know. Click. And so I think they were just like, oh, and it was really interesting because in our RFP, we did require that people come out and take a look at our buildings instead of just going online and, oh yeah, we measured it. Yeah, we can do X, Y, Z for you. No, we want you to come here. And so if you want detailed plans, come here. We'll give them to you when you get here. So
Did we reach out to the company that did the one roof already for us out of Marshfield? They came and did the spray.
they did
spray
the
roof on it?
repairs. That was the Tuffy or
See,
what?
Yazzie.
Nuzzies.
Then
I don't know that Tom has communicated with them. I don't know that they've got the RFP.
I would.
I can ensure that they get it.
Because they've already been here and they've done part of the work and
Right.
they know what they're getting into already. And I think
that's a good idea.
I think we're pretty happy with what they did.
I will reach out to them this week. And if there's other people that you know that are in the business, share and say, hey, here's this RFP, let us know so they can turn around by that time. But I will definitely get that one out. So again, going back to phase 2 is part of that, and I just want the board to be cognizant of that as we make those decisions. The playground's part of that, the rooftop is part of that. And so when we think of our fund balance, the question is truly, do we want to dip into the fund balance? And if so, how far do we want to dip in that fund balance? I will say over the last 10 years, we did Rachel was able to compile a 10-year look back. And basically there's been years that we've been in the negative and years we've been in the positive. The percentage has slowly declined throughout those years of fund balance, but we've added just over $850,000 to the fund balance in the last 10 years. Now, when I take a look at 3 years ago rooftops, that's what it came in at too, was 850. So I don't know what it's going to come in this year. But we've slowly been putting it in there, but our expenses has also kept rising. So that's why the percentage of fund balance has slowly gone down a fraction of a percentage point each year. When we ran into the negative, and I think the last time we were in the negative for the fund balance was 5-6 years ago, then our percentage took a bigger drop, obviously, because now we had more expenses and we were running a negative budget. So having said that, going into the auditorium phase 2 purchase or update, again, there's really 4 things here. I think it's all listed on one page at the very bottom. Option A is truly, that is needed in order to finalize the phase 1, because that'll be the controls for the volume and for the sound in the auditorium. So that is necessary to do. Option B for the projector replacement, because we were able to spend some of the auditorium phase 1 in last year's budget, that means we have more money available for this year's budget. We do have enough budgeted for all of these to occur. Projector and projection screen replacement, depending who you talk to, that's a necessity. However, we've been getting along with what we have. So is that absolutely needed? It's not absolutely needed. Is it old? Is it antiquated? Is it high quality? Yes, yes, and no. Should it be replaced? Yes. Which is why we were recommending doing all 4 of these projects. And last month we did have the caveat with the electrician portion of it. But James, I don't know if you could speak to roughly how much that can't be much to just extend that wire, but I don't know.
If you were to hire somebody, probably, a decent person wouldn't gouge you a couple $100, or I could just conduct a maintenance guy there to do it,
And that's why they wrote it in here, because they don't want to necessarily say, oh, we got to run a wire from the breaker box or some J box,
Right.
and now you're going to have some unlicensed person do that, and now it's a risk of fire, and all of a
Right.
sudden,
Right.
yeah.
No, a few $100. You ain't looking at much for that. That's minor, very minor.
And I don't know, Mary, if, I don't mean to put you on the spot, we didn't talk about this, but we have held community movie nights
Yeah,
days in here.
So the projector is such that if you try to, if you breathe wrong on the wiring, it goes out. And it's shadowed and you can't watch it. So if you get it just right, everybody has to back away very, very slowly and hope to God no one jostles anything. We almost had to cancel movie night because we could not get it to focus. So
And even this,
if nothing else, please get a new projector with a better wire to the thing. Because that is something that for Veterans Day assemblies, for anything, if it's not just right.
and that is option C, and option D is the switcher scaler that she's talking about. The current one for Veterans Day, it didn't work, and I went in for rehearsal, and Lisa was beside herself. Dave was beside himself, because she takes all this time to put all these pictures of current and former military people from that have connection to the school. And honest to goodness, it was like looking through those goggles that, if you have the beer goggles thing and they try to make you walk a straight line when you it was like looking at that, because it was all blurry, and it was like you got red pictures over here and green pictures over here. It was
And you can get it if you touch it. As soon as you let it go, it's gone.
right.
And then somebody moves and it goes. Don't move again. It's bad. So if nothing else, projector in that wire and keep the screen. But that's a shame that doesn't work every single time, especially with the great things that we do in the auditorium. It is kind of a showcase for our music department. It's a showcase for our drama department, right? Like,
And I would argue, if we're going to do the projector, we have to do a screen as well, because the current screen, if we went with a new projector that was high definition, the screen would be one of those where the picture would extend beyond that, because it's like your TV, right? You're going from a square and you're condensing it, but making it wider. And so that's the difference. So if we went with, I would argue we
they would receive.
Obviously, what's not covered, that fire, we don't handle it properly, we break it. And that's a 1-year contract, renewed up to 7. And we go back down here again. That was. Where did it say?
It's up on that page. It's a percentage of,
That was at 6%.
keep going up.
Well, it's 40%.
Oh, was that on, I'm sorry,
Right there.
oh, right there. So if we pay it annually, it's 5.5% of the contract, so it's 5.5 of 60.
$1,000, right? Yeah, just over 3. 4.
3,300 bucks for a year. So you're basically buying the Best Buy warranty. But then it's, if something breaks, they come in and take care of it. We don't mess with it.
Right.
Or we pay 3-year, right?
So then you're talking like $9,000, because you take that 3, 4, 500 off. So it's 5%. So you're talking 3,000 for a 3-year period. So now you have 9,000 instead of 10 grand. It would be 9,900. 33 times 3. I did consider that because many times,
Electronics.
correct. But I've also taken it out on a personal TV and stuff, and we actually, it did burn out. And they're like, oh, thank goodness we did that. We never do that, but we did it a couple times, and lo and behold, one of the items that we did take out the extent, it did break.
So on this one training a year, is that they come in and train one person, or is that gonna be a group type
I
deal?
believe that's a group type thing.
Okay,
So it'd be for any teachers, any staff, any
that's
students.
what I thought.
I think there's a limit. I don't think they'll come in and teach bus drivers, custodians,
No, yeah,
everybody,
I know,
but the people that actually work with that equipment, it'll be that group.
Matt, we could, and that's available out if, say, we do it for a year. They would, next year, we could do it for another year. Is that correct? For up to 7 years?
Yep, the way that reads, to pay it annually and it can be renewed up to 7 years. Where did I see that? Right here. So the contract's for 1 calendar year, it can be renewed for up to 7 years, and after 7 years, like, this is old equipment, we don't support it, we're not gonna have a bumper to bumper warranty on something that'll.
Is there a warranty on any of it now?
There's your typical manufacturer warranty against defect, yeah.
Not on the-
Well, not on our current stuff. The stuff that they did for the sounds and the speakers, yes, manufacturer warranty.
None of their stuff, like their,
Yeah, we did not purchase a bumper to bumper contract with that first go around. And I don't have a price to say, okay, what would a bumper to bumper be for everything?
you know,
And I could get that. And knowing, having talked with Dean, if that is an interest, I think that's something that we could work in and say, okay, quote a bumper to bumper contract for all of the equipment. Because this is just gonna cover the screen and the projector.
Okay, well, first I guess we have to decide which option we want to do. And then make a motion on where we stand. You're gonna do it all at once. Would be option D, and I'm correct. Or Dennis is option D,
So option A, again, so going through the options, option A is what finalizes the current sound.
Yeah.
So I would say at a minimum, the board should approve option A. When it comes to option D, D is only necessary if you have option C. Option B, obviously, I'm sorry, B and D, the projector and the video switcher go together. The projection screen, if you do the projector and you don't want what you're viewing to be off the screen, I would say those go hand in hand too, but specifically B, the projector, and D, the video switcher scaler. That's the connections from the projector to the video cables. So that would, those two would go hand in hand.
Yeah, if we're budgeted for it, I agree. I think we
Alicia
need
has
to.
a motion to do it all. James,
But the only question I have is the warranty. It's such a tough thing. Even when we buy a freezer, do you get the warranty? You know, don't you get the warranty? You take a chance, you know, save a few bucks or let them worry about it. I mean, I guess if we just took the first year warranty, which I think is a good idea, if we want to updo it, it's $350 that we're losing out on, you know, by not going to straight 3-year contract. So I think we try the first year and see how things go, see, you know, how they treat us, and maybe we renew their contract. We're losing $350 if we go year to year versus a 3-year gig. So it'd be a $900 or $1,000 we would be gaining by doing it straight 3-year.
And I don't want to speak for them, but when I've talked with Kelly, when I spoke with Dave, when I talked with Lisa, satisfied with the work. Anybody that's attended a concert this year, me with my hearing deficiencies, I'm able to hear what the kids are singing, and that's amazing. So from a sound standpoint, I think they've done a very good job.
So we have a motion on the board that we do all the options, and it was made by Alicia and seconded by James. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? Okay, motion is carried.
I would say do all 1-year warranty.
Okay, so can we
Was
just,
that part of your motion?
Yeah,
yeah, we can just,
yeah.
yeah, is that?
Or we
okay with that?
can do a second.
Through it, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so the motion is to do do all the options with a 1-year.
With 1 year.
With 1-year warranty, is that what it's called?
Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause I
okay.
mean, with that, you're only looking at like 50, just under 55,000.
I guess that makes me feel a little better.
Which is still within our budget.
So did everyone understand when they voted for that, they were also voting for the 1 year, or do you want me to restate it?
I think everybody gets it.
Okay, all right, just want to make sure. Okay, consider DOJ school safety report.
So I sent you all an email with our safety plan. That's not a public document. I did not link it here because I don't want to open records request because we don't want our safety plan for the school just out there for anybody to consume. However, in that plan, it talks about what we do and how we keep our students safe. As part of that, the safety grant, and again, Shane, if you want to chime in, basically this information, Shane wrote this up. This is kind of our intruder drill and lessons learned from that intruder drill, what that comprised of. And basically, we put this together. There is a signature required by the superintendent principal and school board president to say that this was conversed about at a board meeting to let you know that we do soft lockdowns. We had the intruder training with multiple departments during the summer to go through what that looks like and how we would act. How many staff do we have?
It was 38. Number again.
So between 30 and 40 staff members that participated with us as well to see how the police interact and how the EMTs interact and what the staging area looks like and that type of thing. I thought it was a very good exercise. I happen to be in the TOC or the tactical center, which is down at the VFW. And it was weird there because the information that we were getting, it didn't seem like it was timely at all because we're like, wait a second, what about this? And like, no, my people already said that's already done. They're clearing right now. I'm like, what do you mean? We think there's still an intruder out there. And so the communication aspect, when you have firefighters and EMTs and police officers all talking together, was interesting. And many times I had a direct line of communication and they were still trying to figure out what was going on. So it was very interesting. But I don't know if you have anything to add. We're just looking for the board to accept the report so that we can sign it and send it into the DOJ to verify that we have in fact conducted those trainings over the course of this year.
And we'll need a motion on that after.
So
what you were talking about was some of those twists and stuff that need to get worked out.
That's part of the report.
That's part of the practical exercise, and that was part of the findings at the end.
So
Not a
they're
lot
reading
for-
that in there.
Not a lot for us, but a lot for the police and EMTs and firefighters that they, and their main purpose, I think they met their goal. Their goal was to get into multiple school buildings that they haven't been in as a unified group. And they had a person that dressed up as an intruder, and then they went through their process on how to clear a building. But getting into our school to understand where the little hiding places would be, where the crooks and crannies are, to understand that there's multiple levels, in our middle school, and in our cafeteria and whatnot. We have found out some things that we did a soft lockdown, in our soft lockdown drill, and we locked down
Oh,
high school,
I
middle
was here
school.
that day, and I was walking through the hall.
I was walking through the hall to line.
And I was like, wait a second. And I'm like, wait, no, you gotta get back in the room. We're on lockdown. Like, oh, really? And so, note to self, right? When we lock down the whole complex because we are one complex.
Yeah, but did we even hear it when I walked out of here? So there was,
Lesson learned.
yeah, so, and then when I was looking at this thing, it says school map. I wrote on this thing, good idea for some people, bad idea for others to see or have. And
That's why
along
it's not a
with what
public
you're,
doc.
okay, that's it.
But along those lines,
The guys need to know where stuff is in the building.
correct.
So do you post that map on the door? That could just, that map could be real easy. So
As,
it's kind of a.
if I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, the way the police would like it, they would like you to come in any entrance and have a map of the building, say you are here. And then that way they would be oriented, but then so would everybody else.
Yeah,
9.99 times out of 10, it's going to be used in a positive manner. There is the probability for anything that somebody could use it in a negative manner as well. But that's what they would recommend. The police would recommend having a map like that. That plan, you'll notice there's room for multiple attachments. We've tracked down kind of where this came from, and what needs to be in there, and that'll be an update coming up this next summer as we go through it again.
Okay. Well, Matt made the motion. Did I have a second? Anybody want to second it? I'll second it. Okay. So all those in favor of considering the DOJ school safety report, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion is carried. All right, Rosholt record contract.
Every December, we have the Rosholt record contract. Trish was able to secure it from the individuals that are running the record, and basically there's 0% increase. We could not renew it, and we probably kill a paper, and we don't have the means to get our information out. When we took a look at Wild Rose and Almond Bancroft, those places that don't have a paper, they sit there and have articles and they print off all the paper. They staple it together, or they put it, sideways and put it in the middle like a book and fold it, and then they tape it shut, and then they run it through postage for, I think Almond Bancroft was almost like $2 per copy sent to every mailbox. And the one we received from Wild Rose had a base stamp on it, and then they had like 2 or 3 stamps thrown on it. So I don't know how much that one was, because I don't know. There was a forever stamp. There was like a 8-cent stamp. It was a weird collection. But for us, we have that same availability with the Rosholt record. That's how we express our school business. We have multiple pages that we put in there on a monthly basis. Trisha's done a phenomenal job at organizing and harnessing articles from people. So hopefully our staff continues to contribute those things. If there's something that we need to put out, so if we could talk about our report cards, we put that information out there. When we get to the referendum, which we're going to have to when this referendum runs out, we'll put that referendum information out there. We put highlights for our students and athletics and those types of things. It serves us well. I would recommend that we renew that contract because it's a 0% increase from last year, and it serves our purpose.
I'll make the motion.
James, okay.
I'll second it.
All right. All those in favor of considering the Rosholt record contract, say aye. Okay, those opposed? Okay, motion's carried. Consider 2024-25 course description booklet.
As Shannon mentioned earlier, there was a couple of changes within the FACE department, Family and Consumer Ed. And we are asking the board to approve the course description booklet with those adjustments.
Looking at that, there was a few courses that weren't offered this coming year. Is that because of the kids?
They rotate, it just switches off which classes are offered in particular areas, like in Ed. They might offer a class this year, but then they don't offer it the next year, and then they offer it the following year, just because numbers issues.
Okay, because I saw that under a couple of those when I was looking at it.
I know talk with Chad Tech Ed's like that.
And there's agriculture classes, a lot of our.
Okay. Okay, Lisa, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right. All those in favor of accepting the changes in the course description booklet for 2024-25, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, motion is carried. Consider playground updates due to safety concerns. Mrs.
Okay, you gotta tell me how much I have to sell you on this. Here's the down and dirty. The wooden piece of playground equipment every year when our insurance company does the safety check with Tom, every year they tell us it has reached its life expectancy, the beams are starting to split, it needs to be taken down, you are increasing your liability. We have yet to take it down because we don't have anything to put there. And we don't just want to take it down without having something to put there. So these past couple of years, we've tried to increase our PTO fundraising to get something. But at this point, we need to consider taking it down whether we replace it or not. This summer, we should probably take it down whether we replace it or not. We've been told enough years in a row that we're increasing our liability. So from a safety standpoint, it should go. So PTO at this point has about $36,000 that they have raised and earmarked for the playground. Just like you guys said with the auditorium, we pay for it something now, we pay more for it later. My asphalt 5 years ago was $27,000. I put it in this summer at 40. It's the same driveway I had 5 years ago, right? The prices just increase. So with us having 36,000 already, I contacted Boland Recreation. They are a Wisconsin-based company. They use Sourcewell, which allows us to not have to get a 3 bid because they Sourcewell it out to make sure that we're getting the lowest bid for what we're looking for. I got 3 different options. Option 1 is below the 100,000. 100,000 is what we set aside as our goal in 2019. So you can see, I don't know, can you press the plus and make it bigger?
Sure.
Okay,
Is that better?
so just to give you an idea, because obviously this is not our playground. This is our current dome. These are our first current set of swings. We have another set of swings. We have a whole nother piece of playground equipment here. The building is here. So this is the blacktop area in the building. We own this piece of equipment. So to give you an idea, we already own this, we already own this, we already own this, we already own this. In this particular proposal for just shy of 100,000, we are getting a tether ball, a new funnel ball because the one we have needs to be replaced, and a piece of equipment. If you scroll down further, you will see this same picture, just in different views. So you can see that it's a ramp. That ramp has boards for students to play on, a tic-tac-toe board, activity boards they're called. They can go up further and there's another activity board. Continue scrolling and it'll get a different view. There's the other side. I talked with occupational therapy. I talked with physical therapy. our physical therapist that works for Marathon County. I talked with teachers of early childhood and early childhood aides as well. So something like that small climber is a good climber for our students that are very, very small, our students that are working on some gross motor hand-eye coordination. It's a rock wall. That's not a rock wall. It's enclosed, but it gives a little bit of climbing. And one more, I think there's a little bit more. So there's, again, another, it's got a smaller slide and that corkscrew slide. And then the last side, I'll show you the other side. It's got another set of monkey bars. So this would be option one. Not gonna lie, I don't like option one, but there's option one. Option two, again, same pieces we already own. We already own our tidal wave, we already own the dome, we already own the swings. This piece includes, this is a 10-person spinner. That's the new merry-go-round. They don't make merry-go-rounds anymore because they are a huge liability. So this is where you sit and you spin. And then 2 spinners. When I talked with kids, that's what they missed from the other side of the play, the south playground. On the north playground, we have no spinners. On the south playground, we do. The problem with the south playground is that playground is made for 10 to 14-year-olds. So taking our little kids over there, while they could swing and they could do the spinners, they can't do much else because they can't reach anything. They can't reach the Superman. They can't reach the monkey bars. As a mom, I constantly have to pick my child up to do everything she wants to do, which there are better moms out there than me because I'm like, no more. 3 times is all you get. So we got the spinners. That's what kids said they wanted over there. Here's the bigger piece of equipment. Scroll down again from a different view. We've got the 2 sensory walls. Option 2 has what's called a glider. That is a place where students in a wheelchair, as well as students not in wheelchair, there's benches and that whole thing rocks back and forth. Then there's one activity panel up there. That's as far as a student with mobility issues could go. It's got a little bit of a climber there. If you scroll down, you'll see, again, you can see the glider. Kids said they liked that armpit slide, those 2 bars. When they heard that we were taking out the wooden piece, they're like, can we have this armpit slide? Sometimes they slide down like this. Sometimes they straddle it and slide down like this. Sometimes they climb like a sloth down it. I asked if that could be incorporated. This is the only piece she was able to find that's had that still. You can scroll down further. Again, just a different view. It's a different kind of slide. And then that's a spider web climbing piece. And I think you can even see that better in the last one. That spider web climbing piece. So this is option 2.
What was the price on that one?
I think it was like 123, but the prices are on a different, I put them on a different thing. You wanna?
Well, you brought it up on the first.
Yep. The first one was less than 100, and then the other 2 were over 100. 121.5 and 129.5.
Is that with the 36?
That is the price. We would take that off. And I have better news. So let me show you option 3, and then I'll tell you about financing. Option 3.
She's selling it.
Okay, girl.
Okay.
By the way, all of them have a schema. If you want to scroll up, can you scroll up to that schema? Just so you know, every piece of playground equipment, which is why you have to pay a company nowadays to install your playground equipment. Every piece of playground equipment has a certain amount of area around it that cannot be built in. And again, that's why you pay installers to come in. Because if we were to do any kind of installation of our own, one, it negates the warranty. Two, if any child were to get harmed, the parent of that child, if litigious, can name every individual who installed it. So if I got you all together to help me install the piece of playground equipment, we could be taking on personal liability with it, which is again why you want to stick with an installer. So every piece has, or every option has that schema as well, just to give you an idea. Scrolling down. In option 1 and option 2, this piece was not there. We own a piece of equipment. They are low parallel, or they are low monkey bars. I want to keep the low monkey bars because our little kids enjoy the low monkey bars rather than the high monkey bars. When you're 5 and you want to do the monkey bars, it may be intimidating to fall from 8 feet, but it's not so intimidating to fall from 5 feet. So in both option 1 and 2, we would have to remove those and we could put them on a different portion of our playground. In option 3, we wouldn't have to remove them because this piece lays different, so we wouldn't need to remove those. We could keep them where they are. One of the things, just so you guys are aware, I said I don't like these two that close together. I want this guy back over here. And she's like, well, absolutely, we can move this guy back over here and we can move this guy down here and there's still enough space. So that's not an issue, but I wanted to point that out because when I said that's way too close together, I don't want tetherball and funnel ball. I mean, tetherball obviously only goes for a certain amount, but funnel ball can get rowdy. No to recess, you're welcome at any time. So this particular piece or option includes the 10-person spinner and 1 individual spinner instead of 2, and it's a different, larger play structure. It includes a third panel, sensory panel there. It includes the glider as well. We've got 2 different kinds of slides. We've got a small, maybe a different. Can you scroll down a little more? Sure. Sorry. Must be the next one. Can you scroll down a little more? It includes the small slide for some of our younger students and our students who have difficulty with mobility. And it again includes that small rock wall for some of our early childhood students who are really working on mobility. It still has monkey bars. We have monkey bars on the other one too. And then we also have the low monkey bars. So they're all a little bit different. I personally like option 3, but I'm happy with option 2. I would say, if all I get is option 1, I'm going to get option 1 and I'm going to be happy with it. But I really think that the glider is an opportunity for us to be inclusive, not only to the students we have here, but to our community members. Grandmas and grandpas who come that might not have that same level of mobility can come with their whole families and use that glider. So those are the 3 options. Knowing you guys, I asked for 2 different quotes. So this is a quote, option 1, option 2, option 3. This includes everything shown except the things we already own. The swing sets, the reflex, they call it reflex climber, we call it a tidal wave, the dome climber that we already have. It includes installation of the new equipment. Scrolling down, it tells you when we have to pay. Prices are good for 30 days. One of the reasons we brought it to you now and not in January is January 1st is when companies raise their prices. They put out a new catalog and then they raise their prices. So if we want this, we would have to let her know by December 26th. She said December 27th. She wrote to me today and just said, hey, I want you to know that I took December 22nd off or 7th off. So if you're going to do it, I need to know by December 26th. to me one day. It's a 15-week lead time. Payments are due 30 days after delivery, and then installation services are due 15 days after completion of work. If we don't pay, obviously, there's an invoice of 1.5%. I said, when could it be done? She's like, installation takes 2 to 3 days tops. I said, okay, so you're telling me that we get out on May 31st, we have that week off before summer school. I could have a new playground for summer school. And she said, absolutely. You lock it in. We say this is what installation is. We get the installers to commit to that time frame, and you will have your playground done. So that's if we pay for it, not if we pay for it. Yes. If we buy everything as a package, those are the 3 package prices. This does not include the sidewalk leading up to it. But I've been selling myself in the community. And Tom's youth sports group, didn't sound bad, it's sorry, everyone out there who doesn't know me already. Tom's youth group said that they would likely be willing to pay for the cement side. So can you look at one of the pictures again?
Sorry. Yep.
Just any of them. You'll see that there's that gray sidewalk that leads up to the piece. So it looks like we can have a community partnership to supply that gray sidewalk, which would not be an additional cost to us as the district. I also met with the Booster Club, and they are interested in also helping us. They have shared that they would like to know how much you might be willing to pay toward one of these things. And I have direction to let them know tonight what you might be thinking, and they have been authorized to, within their board leadership, to hold a vote, because it's already been voted on. A range has been voted on.
Is this supposed to be so we kind of got to guess what their range is so we can.
I'm not
our guess
supposed
out
to
there.
tell you their range, obviously, because they have other things that they would like to, but they've shared with me what a range might be. So I'm just supposed to share with you what my vision is and why I think we should do it. And I hear we've got some fund balance that we might need to spend down. And now might be the time to shoot for the moon and get a new piece of playground equipment. Because we already have $36,000 from PTO. And we have 2 other community organizations that are willing to help. But please remember, with the quote, that doesn't include sidewalk at all. So this would be just the playground equipment.
And it doesn't include anything that goes underneath
The
out there,
sand,
either the sand or the rubber mulch or anything like that either.
Well, we use wood chips, and we replenish our wood chips every summer anyway.
Why are we using wood chips, can I ask, instead of sand or rubber mulch?
So rubber ended up, for the size of our playground, is about $300,000, and they say it takes about 5 to 7 years before you need to replace it. So we're looking at the possibility of $300,000 every 5 years or so to keep the rubber up. If you want me to get that quote, I would be happy to. But when I went, so I assumed we were not willing to go there. So mulch, the wood chips has been the most cost effective for our playground system.
What does wood chips cost us?
I don't know what it costs.
$1,500 a summer, I think. Can you look it up? Sorry.
It's fine. It's fine.
It's minimal.
It's fine.
We used to get them free, but we don't get them free anymore. So
well, I'm kinda like with Matt, looking at those pictures, it looks like it's sand. You know,
Well,
The
I
problem with
think
sand is that when you have runoff, it gets hard, and then you're unsafe, and now you get basically concrete below you. Whereas with the wood chips, it has a better drainage.
I think they're soft when you jump to them. Kids fall.
Yeah.
Wood chips have pretty good give to them.
Well, and I know with our Gaga pits, we did the crushed, limestone, which is a little bit, muddy right now.
Horrible.
It's a little bit muddy right now.
Yeah.
So,
Terrible.
And just so the board's aware, as Rachel and I sat down and we calculated those percentages of fund balance, we were figuring $75,000 commitment to the playground. That's what our numbers were. Does that get you there? No. But if we have 75 plus 36 plus. And that-
plus the range,
a range plus the concrete, we'd be super close.
But saying we might be is not a, hey, we're paying for the cement to me, right? That's saying,
Correct.
well, we might, but I've also heard that before. Well, we might do this, but then all of a sudden we say yes to this and all of a sudden, well, we might decide to go somewhere else then too. And all of a sudden, okay, now what? Now we're stuck with a concrete bill that we have to pay for, right? So that's an unknown. So to me, I need to know that cost. They might be willing to pay for it and I'd be grateful for that.
You're talking about the concrete?
Yeah.
That's been pledged. So to your point, they haven't given us a price. We don't know what the price is because they said, we'll take care of it.
Okay.
I did ask for a different quote as well. Could you pull up the piece quote?
Yeah.
So I asked like, okay, if we can't go all in, give me an idea. And then I only made her quote out options 2 and 3 because to me, I don't like option 1 to begin with, but if that's the way you want me to go, I can have her requote it to you. Just the structure with the installation for option 2, 72.6 and 26, almost 27. Then she priced out each one of those additional pieces. But she said you need to know that it's plus freight and plus installation, and I can't give you a freight and an installation cost because right now it's the whole project. Here's the installation cost with it. It would be dependent on when you buy the freight cost. It would be dependent on how much you would be installing for the installers to come out and do it. She did also say that some of the sensory panels, those could be installed by our own staff because they're not climbing structures. So you're not taking on, a liability of a kid falling off of a sensory panel. So, but she did say, like, just to give you an idea, just the piece of equipment, the big piece of equipment into plus the installation of that big of a piece of equipment would be 72, 73, or 78, 88, 98, 99,000. So you kind of get a deal when you buy it all together. But I did ask her to, again, kind of piece it out to give you an idea of how expensive playground equipment is nowadays. I did also contact Polonia because they just put in a playground, right? And people have said, well, Polonia's playground didn't cost this much. It most certainly did. It came in 2 phases. They used their ARPA, which is ESSER funds, to pay for the first phase. And then they did the second phase on their own through donations.
Mary, are you talking about the park or the school?
The park, that new
Okay.
park,
Yep.
that's kind of behind.
Big on the cafe.
Yep.
Okay.
Phase 1 and phase 2 of that project, she let me know was 105,000. So to give you an idea, this isn't out of line.
The other thing I think of is just to remind the board, I know there was questions last school year when I think it was either a 4K or a 5K kitchen. And the cost was like $500 to $600
yeah.
for a 4K, 5K kitchen. You're like, what? Yep. It's.
Buy you a range.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One of the questions I have is, when you start asking for this kind of money, we always require you to have multiple bids.
Correct.
Why is there not multiple bids? Even though it's through one company, I'm sure there's other companies that make this playground equipment and install it, not just one here, right? We always require more than one.
So by going through Sourcewell, she said that you eliminate the need for 3 bids because they bid it out to Sourcewell to get the cheapest equipment. There are other playground companies, for example, the one that Polonia went through out of Fond du Lac. They all bid through Sourcewell.
But I mean, like, why can't we go through that playground equipment company, not through Sourcewell, a different vendor? Is what I'm asking. We don't go, like, when we ask for roof bids, right? We don't go say, hey, I want this rubber roof. Whoever does this rubber roof, this is where I want quotes from, only because that's their vendor. We ask for multiple companies that offer similar products to do. I guess that's kind of a question I would have.
Okay. I can certainly
know it's
contact,
timeline
right?
wise, but and that's a lot of money that,
Well, and I did share with Mary a grant from a Minnesota company. And basically they pay for half of your equipment. Spencer informed me about it. Colby also went with that grant type of playground equipment. The company is great to deal with. Their installers are terrible because they sub that out. So they have people from Texas installing this. They're still not done. They started it in the summertime. So initially we talked like, hey,
I actually contacted
here's a grant.
them.
This looks good. And next thing you know, I hear these horror stories. So that eliminates one of the few that's out there.
I did contact them. They sent me some stuff. Show it to you. The pieces that they sent, I ran through some kids. And the older, like upper elementary was like, I really like this. And so looking at that, and then I heard from other school districts that they weren't coming through with getting their stuff in time. The other thing that kind of turned me off to them, not gonna lie, is that he said, great, can you get up on the roof of your school and take some pictures, and then you need to go out and measure? And I did. But he didn't come out and do anything for us, where Boland, she came out several times. She came out when we first started the conversation 4 or 5 years ago. Gave us different, because this particular one is Miracle. She gave us different catalogs from different companies that she can get things from. And, you know, she started talking, she met with Tom and me, she measured out things. She's like, here's some things you could add to that south playground if you wanted to make that south playground more available for little kids. You know, here's what we can do in this piece. Here's if you want to start this piece by piece by piece. So she's been extremely responsive to work with, but I can certainly, you know, I did get the name of the place out of Fond du Lac. I can certainly call that place out of Fond du Lac as well.
I mean, I don't, like, I look at it, there's, you know, there's, you go to Wausau, JoJo's Jungle just built a huge facility there, park.
Yep.
Beautiful, right? Where did, like, who put that equipment in? You know, and I guess that's just questions that I have that, you know, who did the one in Point at Cash Park?
Oh, not Cash Park. The Plover one, I had 2 different companies tell me they did the Plover one, which I thought was interesting. I'm like, the one by the splash pad, they both were like, yes, we did. So I don't know if, because maybe this company did it and this company subcontracted for both of them to say that they had done it. But I can reach out to more. One of the things is I don't want to put anything out to kids until we might have something, because what's available in this year's catalog might not be available come January. So like one of the things PTO had wanted a couple years back was, why don't we put a couple options out there and let the kids vote on it? I don't want them to get into their minds that this is what we're getting.
Yeah.
And then we don't have the money to do it. And 5 years later, that's not what you said we were getting, right? Like we as adults can conceptualize that things change and it's not going to be the same product. As a kid, you can't always do that. But I can, if you want me to go.
that's up to the board. I mean, that's something that we've always done, kind of, you know, 'cause
I specifically asked her about like, we need 3 quotes, and she said that's the benefit of being a Sourcewell partner. Our school district is a Sourcewell partner. So Sourcewell has to give you the best deal because you're a Sourcewell partner.
And based on what I hear Mary talk about and the connectivity and the interest that this person has put in, it's similar to, if you have a plumber that you're very comfortable with and they've done good work for you before they take an active interest, they come out periodically and take a look at plumbing issues and give you recommendations. Chances are you're going to go with that plumber because you've built up a respect, you've built up a trust. So as we hear more from Ms. Morrison and the connection that Mary's made with her and the fact that she's come out multiple times, even going back to Friday.
She volunteered to be here tonight, but she lives in Toma, and I said I didn't think I needed her.
So I guess if you source this out to other companies, you're able to give them the plan, you gotta start from scratch and redesign something that they have versus what's there.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I can share with them what we're looking for. They will probably, well, it depends. I mean, the one guy made me go out and do all the measurements on my own with pictures off the roof, which I still have in my email, so I can supply that readily now. But depends if they're gonna wanna come out here, they're gonna wanna measure things. That might be, you know, but I can do it. I mean, we've waited 5 years. There's no saying we have to, just because the price will go up in January doesn't mean we have to do it today. So
So
and
what,
have they said that the price is going up in January?
she said every January, the new catalogs come out, and every time a new catalog comes out, the price goes up.
And I would just state that as we've conversed and taken a look at the options, as Mary said, 2 and 3 are probably most critical, and the main reason is because of this glider here. Because in option 1, there's really only one station that a person that has mobility issues can get to, and this would be usable by everybody. And it's not much. It's just a little bit of a swing. But somebody that's somebody that has mobility issues, somebody that is in a wheelchair, not that we're asking for this to go in for only those kids, but this provides a really amazing piece of equipment that they can feel a part of something. So it's one of those things where right now, a kid with mobility issues goes out there, is on the blacktop and watches everybody do everything, and they can't even get to a position where things are happening around them. So they're not included at all. And again, that's not the reason for this. The reason is because we got to pull out the wooden one because it's starting to splinter and it's becoming a safety concern. It has been a safety concern. It's becoming more of a safety concern for our kids climbing that. So that one's got to come out.
so that one's going away this summer, it's gone.
That has to go away.
I mean, we can hold on to it, but they warn us every
But we take a
year.
chance of paying $1 million in a lawsuit.
Yeah, we take a chance every.
And there's been kids that have gotten slivers and things of that nature already this year. I mean, they haven't been impaled by a large, you know.
Well, like, for example, that piece had a tire swing. It no longer has a tire swing because the integrity of the board that tire swing was on had disintegrated to the point where the tire swing had to come off. But I mean, I have seen children not on school time using that board to,
Oh, very well.
and I think like,
That's scary.
and I know it's not right, like, they're not doing it at recess, but, you know, so anyway.
Now,
if
did
you-
PTO come up with a committee to work on these pieces and parts, or?
No, I talked with kids, I talked with our OT/PT specialists, talked with teachers, I've chatted with students, what do you like, what do you not like, what do you want to keep? So it's not super scientific. I mean, I could make a survey. I could
Well, I
focus
was
group.
just wondering if, you know, the PTO's donating $36,000, maybe they'd have a little more input into the design and the equipment equipment and pieces and stuff they put, but
Nope, they've just, over the course of the last, since I've been here, they have been donating one of their 2 fundraisers or earmarking one of their 2 fundraisers a year for the playground.
So Dennis, you figured about 75 out of the budget for this.
That's, we've calculated our percentages of fund balance, that's what.
That's about 19, if you want the best option, if, you know, all things equal. It's like almost 130, so that'd be like 19,000 the booster club would have to, if you wanted to, you know, the number.
You did my math for me?
I had-
Always, right?
I had 18,000.
Trying to, well, it depends if you take 129, if there's any taxes, 129.
Oh, okay, yeah.
130.
I forgot about the tax.
Well, we're not taxed, we're tax exempt.
Tax exempt.
Okay, fair enough.
So,
So yeah, you're looking at 18 something then.
so with a district donation or a district earmark of 75,000, with what Booster Club, the range that they have given me, we would be go.
So I
Okay, let's
guess,
figure 70 now.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. I bet the range is 20 to 20. So we're gonna go with 70.
that's what I was thinking.
Yep.
I was just throwing numbers out there. So, now you got the cat out of the bag.
okay, so I do have a motion to go with what option and how much of what we're willing to give, or what do we want to do?
Or do you want me to go and get another company and all that stuff too? Because I can, again, certainly do that.
The question is, do we want to decide the option? Does the board want to decide that, or does the board want to say, here's X money towards the
Oh, we
project?
could do that too.
That's option 2 right there with that glider, right?
This is 2 with the glider.
I mean,
2 and 3 both have the glider.
There's like
Oh,
8,000
Oh,
there's $8,000 difference.
difference between the two.
And the other thing to consider with 2 to 3 is that with 3, there's less in-house work that has to be done.
Mhm.
Not saying we can't do it, but there would be less work with this option for Tom and Sean during the summer to rip those things up and move them. This one, those things can stay. So we wouldn't be paying our own people to uproot, move, reestablish those existing pieces of equipment.
Sure.
So the other ones, what was it, 121, so it's a savings of $8,000, but then how much are we paying our, probably a couple thousand in there too, to pay our own people to move the stuff.
Sure, sorry.
Well, we could either go by option, or we could go by this is how much money we're gonna give, and
If you want, I can take it to the kids too and show them the 3 options and have them vote.
The problem is saying, here's this amount that we'll just put towards it, is what happens if Booster Club only is gonna do.
Yeah.
Say they're only gonna do 15,000, right? Cause we don't know the exact amount, but
Kind of do.
we kinda do, but we don't, right?
But Mary sells more candy.
If we say, hey, we'll do 75, and they say, okay, well, we'll do 15 of it then, well, then we can't get number 3 if we decide to do number 3, because we're short $5,000.
so are you saying we should
To me,
choose an option?
it should just be, here's our option. We're gonna do 2 or 3, that should just, to me, that's what.
Well, I think if
the
we're gonna
decision
do anything,
is.
I think we do option 3. I don't think 2
Yeah.
would be.
I would agree with
Are
you.
you making a motion?
Yeah, I mean,
She wants to second it.
It has to then include with the Booster Club present, like, putting in.
What is your motion? How much you want to contribute? If you want to, I mean, what are your thoughts here?
I think the same thing that Matt said. I don't think you can, I think if we pick an option,
Mm-hmm.
we agree that we're gonna do it with the money that's coming in already from PTO, and then you put X amount of dollars from Booster Club. So that we're not running.
And
short
money from the youth group for the
for
cement too. So it has to be, if you're gonna make a motion, you have to combine all 3.
So if,
but does that help you though? to make it-
Absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
here, take over for a second, okay? I'm gonna make a motion.
I'll write it down.
Yeah, but I can't make a motion if I'm president,
Fine,
because you're not supposed
yeah,
to.
you can. You can make a motion. Anybody can make. a
Dennis,
motion.
can you make a motion?
Yes, she can.
I can't.
No, she
Any-
can't.
any
No,
board
not
member
you,
can make a
her.
motion.
I'll make the motion.
Okay,
All right.
Okay,
As long as we get the youth group to pay for the cement And as long as Booster Club
Contributes
contributes,
the rest of,
see, that's the thing, we almost have to come up with a number
I'd
because
say put a solid number on it.
we have to have a number from the youth, from them.
well, they have to have a number from you. So I'm telling you that if you give 75, I could get option 3 from the Booster Club.
And the cement.
The cement has been,
Yep.
that's a different thing.
Yep.
I'm talking just the Booster Club.
I get that, but we need both, right? We need
I
to
put
have
down
the
youth
cement
group,
from the youth group,
giving the cement.
and we have to have this because one of them's gonna back out and we're gonna say, oh, well, now what, right?
So what is the,
So to protect the board against that, I can't make the motion, but I can maybe try to help wordsmith it. If we said something, if the board said something or made the motion of, we motion to approve option 3 with X amount of money, 70, 75, 100, whatever you guys want to say. We've calculated 75 with X amount towards the project, condition upon or condition upon
Yes.
Condition.
Booster Club, PTO, and youth group donations to complete the project.
That sounds,
Done.
That was good.
that's why, yeah,
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Matt's gonna make it. I'm gonna second it.
whoa.
I get a playground.
Maybe
Maybe.
we have to-
You haven't voted
You
yet.
didn't do your part
yet.
yet.
We have to vote yet. All those in favor?
She just assaulted,
And Lee, and it's on camera.
and it is on camera.
When you sold your soul.
Okay, so we have a motion, Matt, I mean, can you read the motion back to us?
I have a motion made by Matt, seconded by you, Carla, that we go with option 3 with money, a certain amount of money towards the project with contingency that the youth group does the concrete and Booster Club and PTO put in their fair share and followed by the school board with the balance.
So I would say, what
We
is
should
that
put
amount?
75.
75.
75,
Just do it so it gets done.
yeah, because otherwise,
If this was 50 years ago, we'd all be writing up camels right now because we were spending so much money.
okay. Now that
Great
the
news
motion
is
has
less
been
than a
read,
percent of fund balance.
all those in favor of the motion that was just read by our clerk, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, motion was carried. There we go, Mary. Booster Club must have lots of money. Okay, school finance audit,
Let's go to financial audit now.
let's not.
numbers are just flowing through my head right now.
Frankly, this, basically every year, we have a financial audit in the summer. It takes about this long to get the report back. And really the only thing that I have to comment, and Rachel, I will ask you if you have any comments. But basically, at the end of this report, there's questions like, is there significant failures in this? No. Is there significant failures in this aspect of the school's accounting system? There's always going to be a yes when it comes to redundancy and duplication because we have a one-person business office. Every small school district has that same area check mark that yes, there's significant failures because in the accounting system that the state has said, you need to have multiple people that have multiple access so that there's redundancy in doing your financials, your financials. So we don't have that option because we have a person. So if we want to fix that in the financial audit, we would hire more people to be in Rachel's department. Or we can accept the fact that we're always going to be downgraded or gigged, if you will, on that specific area. So other than that, it goes through all the different information that we have for the district. By and large, I think our auditor, correct me if I'm wrong, he's very satisfied with what we do. But he has to mark that one as a negative every year because of the amount of people in our business office. We do verify total net position. We verify all of our activities throughout the course of the year. And so there's a bunch of information here. I'm gonna scroll down to get to the exact negative that was said, and of course now it's gonna give me a preview. There it comes. So financial statements, significant deficiencies identified, yes, because there's not redundancy and not multiple people putting those financial statements together. I don't know, will the outsourcing of payroll, will that assist with the timeliness of this or no?
It won't assist with the timeliness. I don't know if it would affect this deficiency of having, now that we're technically outsourcing part of it.
That might, because we have redundancy now. We'll have to wait and see.
I would just point out too that I think on the second page, when he talks about this deficiency, he does say that as long as the board is
Happy
keeping
with
track of financials, which you guys are each month, that's kind of that's the solution, is just to make sure that everybody's aware.
And that is the only quote unquote significant deficiency that is found. So, again, it comes out mostly positive. We were gigged on that last year. We're going to be gigged on it next year, unless that outsourcing of payroll is going to be a positive in that report. So what we do is every year we ask the board to accept the report as presented because there's no changes that can be made to it. It's all dealing with last year's information. So.
Yeah, motion. Okay.
Second by James to accept the school finance audit report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion carried. Consider summer school for 2024.
Going back to Mary's elementary school report, we were asking the board to approve that structure. So that way we can start to prepare and plan having those positions and that breakup of class load.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all right. All those in favor of approving the 2024 summer school report, setup? I don't know what is it, setup, schedule?
Schedule.
Organization schedule.
Organization, okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion is carried. And now we can consider adjourning into closed session.
I'll make that.
James, okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay.
Go ahead, Matt, you got it.
Yes,
Sure.
okay, we're going to go in closed session at 8:09. All right, thank you for those of you that come. Well, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Thank you for
Had an
coming.
eye from the other room.
Yeah. He was dying.
He's got to go to the bathroom.
He was like, I better get there fast.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night. Happy holidays.
Is there a Mountain Dew in there?
Oh, yes.
I'll take
it.
Careful.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Yep.
Bye. Bye.